All right, if everyone can just take their seat, I think we're gonna get started in a second. Good crowd. All right, sorry, I'm putting my thing away. All right, okay. Whew. Hi, everybody. Hello, welcome. Thank you for coming to the Central Library today. I'm Kevin Awakuni, a librarian here in the Exploration and Creativity Department with the Los Angeles Public Library.
Woohoo! Let's give Kevin applause. Woo! He does all the coordination for LA Made with a lot of help,
Yes.
but it's mostly Kevin. I am Diana Levo-Posner, and I am the Principal Librarian Associate Director for the Exploration Creativity Department, here to welcome you to today's LA Made program, VC Archives, Stories and Conversations Across Generations. Feel free to clap.
Yeah!
Woo!
All right.
They were all at like the Oasis concert. I think that's why they're tired.
Yeah, they're very popular. Okay, before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to thank our behind-the-scenes staff for helping bring the LA Made programs to you. LA Made focuses on the diverse landscape of Los Angeles, hiding the immense artistic and performance talent that has developed in the course of the city's eclectic history. If you'd like to see more of our amazing programs, please visit our online calendar at lapl.org/events. And for our LA Made programs, visit lapl.org/LAMade. We'd also like to take this opportunity to recognize and acknowledge the first people of this land, honor their elders past and present, as well as their descendants who are citizens of these nations. For more information on which territory you may reside on, check out native-land.ca.
Just a couple of other housekeeping tips before we begin. Please silence your electronic devices so as to not distract our amazing speakers this afternoon. Go ahead, I know, go on. Come on, get them out. Okay.
They already did it.
Okay. Also, please take a moment to note the location of the exits. Kevin's pointing the back and the sides of the auditorium just in case of emergencies. If you are parked in the garage underneath the library today, you can get your parking ticket validated at the information desk at the main lobby, and the parking will only be $1.
$1 parking.
Woo! Yeah, right?
Always
it's like a coupon.
Yeah.
As long as you parked after 1 p.m. and leave before 5 p.m. All you have to do is show your library card, and I'm sure it's smaller than that one, but that one will work too, though, if it comes to it. All you have to do is show your library card, and we'll stamp your ticket. Please, no eating or drinking in the auditorium unless it's bottled water. We want you hydrated. And you can go outside, and there's a restroom and a water station out of the lobby. And I think it's over to Kevin again.
You got it. Good job, boss. Whew. All right, and now for today's amazing program. LA Made in collaboration with VC Archives, one of the largest photographic and moving image archives on Asian Pacific experiences in America, is proud to present stories and conversations across generations. From elder storytellers to emerging artists, this curated selection of short films bridges generational gaps and celebrates cultural legacies passed down through Asian Pacific families. With both new and seasoned filmmakers, this multi-generational conversation will deepen the audience's understanding of collective memory and cultural resilience. And now to kick off the program is Jason and Danny.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jason Cianco. I use he, him as pronouns, and I currently serve as one of the caretakers of the VC Archive. For folks who need a visual description, I'm a 6'7" Filipino-American with black and blonde hair, a green button-up, and black pants. I'm humbled to be here with you today and to help kick off today's program. People think of an archive as a place where things go to die, but in actuality, an archive, is this cutting out a little bit? Okay. People think of an archive as a place where things go to die, but in actuality, an archive is where things go to live. That's what makes today's program so incredibly important. We are in this moment right now activating the VC Archives. Can we get a round of applause for that? We're making it accessible for newer audiences, bridging the gap across generations through conversations, and honoring those who came before us while making space for younger voices to imagine and build upon what's next. And if you'd like to explore more, you can visit our newly launched website, vcarchives.org, where you can watch over 500 films for free with some of the films from some of our filmmakers in attendance today. Let's give another round of applause for the filmmakers in attendance today. Yeah. Finally, I'd like to thank the LA Made team and Los Angeles Public Library staff for graciously hosting us today, Kevin Awakuni for your support and amazing coordination, and our filmmakers for sharing their visions with us, and especially all of you for showing up and being a part of this moment. I'm especially proud to introduce today's moderator, Danny Nalangan. Danny was our Getty Archives exhibition intern in 2024, and in just under a year, she continues to remind us of what's possible when we're creating spaces for young leaders to step into this line of work. Thank you, Danny. She's truly a glimmer of hope for the future, and I truly mean that from the heart. She's a living proof that archives aren't just about preserving the past, but about inspiring voices who will carry on our stories forward. Please join me in a round of applause as I pass it off to Danny.
Thank you for that introduction, Jason. The program you are all about to watch today has been named, as has been said before, Stories and Conversations Across Generations by the VC team. So today you'll be seeing More Than a Roast Chicken, directed by Fong, Mochi Sticks Us Together by Teresa Matsushima, JOOK by Olivia Stark, and A Guide for When Immigrants Become Ancestors by Iliana Garcia. These films all came out of VC's artist programs, the Armed with a Camera Fellowship for Emerging Artists, and the Digital Histories Program, connecting seniors in the AA-NHPI community to the medium of filmmaking. Iliana and Olivia are both from the Armed with a Camera Fellowship from the class of 2022, and Teresa's and Patty's films were both created during the Digital Histories 2023 cycle. Information about these programs can be found on vcmedia.org. And we'll be doing a Q&A with everyone after the screening, so please stick around for that. And I won't spoil these films for you, but as you watch, I really invite you to think about your own inherited cultures and traditions. What has your family passed down that lives on in you today? It's an important question that many people of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander descent grapple with growing in America, but also one that can help everyone understand a little bit more about who they are. And these filmmakers do a fantastic job of exploring that in their own ways. And of course, as Jason said, what an honor it is to present these films at the historic LA Central Library. Today, I actually learned, I Googled this, that this building opened in 1926, marking 99 years of supporting communities in their curiosity, inquiry, and storytelling. So thanks, LAPL, for letting us be a part of that legacy. Of course, shout out to Jason, Emma, 2025 interns, Valerie, Kate, and Isaac, and the rest of the VC team for putting this all together. For more information on VC, there is a table outside where you can learn more. So without further ado, if you just stepped in right now, please silence your cell phones, and please enjoy the show.
Preparing the big feast for Chinese New Year. Let's take a look at all the good stuff here. Wow, take a look at all those ingredients.
Some of my favorite memories are gatherings centered on food, because those memories are full of laughter and sharing. I learned how to cook many dishes while spending time with my mom and dad in the kitchen.
And what's this stuff? Grandpa Fong.
Here I'm in action.
There's Mommy doing the dishes. Here's Grandma Fong. Oh, she's got something in the pot. Oh boy, stuff. We're going to have a good feast today.
Most of these recipes are not documented anywhere. One of my favorites is Chinese roast chicken and potatoes. I learned this recipe was handed down to my mom from her mother, my Popo. Popo, Gongong, and their 11 children lived modestly in 3 bedrooms above their St. Louis hand laundry business. From their backyard, they could see the Anheuser-Busch brewery. Gongong and the kids washed and ironed clothes 6 days a week. The work was hard and sometimes even dangerous. Gongong lost 2 fingers while operating a pressing machine called a mangle. It was challenging to feed the family with limited resources. Popo bought day-old bread and put slices of bread on the ironing boards. Mom and her siblings would make paper-thin toast while ironing the shirts. Mom made the same iron toast for my sister, brother, and I when we were young. Food staples were usually purchased in bulk and delivered to the house because there wasn't a family car. The rest of potatoes came in a 50-pound box. Popo discovered potatoes were an affordable way to fill up a lot of bellies. So she found ways to incorporate potatoes in her dishes. Sometimes Mom had to go to the farmer's market to buy fresh chickens. She walked to the market but paid a fare for the streetcar ride back home. Mom said the other passengers didn't want to sit next to her because of those noisy birds. However, on those days, Mom looked forward to a chicken dinner at their big round table. The few chickens had to feed the whole family. So Popo filled the bottom of her pan with potato wedges. This meal was a Liang family favorite. I remember when Mom roasted chickens for dinner. The smell of the bean sauce, 5-spice, and garlic was amazing. The chicken was great, but the taste of the potatoes was even better. The potatoes were crunchy on the outside from cooking in the drippings. Sometimes Mom would reach into the oven while the chicken was still cooking and make my sister, brother, and I potato sandwiches with the hot potatoes and a slice of white bread. Popo's simple roast chicken and potato recipe is more than just a meal to me. This dish invokes memories and connects me to my family history in St. Louis.
Happy New Year, everybody. Let's pray. Lord God, we just thank you just for all your blessings and just your mercy and your grace and your love upon us. We just thank you just for you just watching over us this past year, and we just pray for the year ahead of us, for all of us. Pray for all of us in our situations at work and school, and life, and we thank you for the food and fellowship. We ask that you just bless our evening before us, and just have it be a time of just good food and joy and laughter and sharing. We pray all of these things in your name. Amen. 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 All right. Oh, you guys got rhythm. That's good. Okay.
Okay, flip.
Mochi, a soft white ball of steamed, pounded, sticky sweet rice. Mochi has always been a special treat in our family. It was, and still is, a time-honored tradition amongst our family. We clear our busy calendars in our tightly scheduled lives and gather in one home, devoting the day to making mochi. Grandparents, our kids, our grandkids, aunties, uncles, cousins, we work elbow to elbow. At the end of the year, the host's family is bustling with wall-to-wall people, an assortment of in-laws and outlaws. With the family all working together, we make it every year. Amazing how we absorb culture from our family. We watched our grandparents, observed our parents, picked up tips from our aunties and uncles, and modeled after them. We absorbed what was going on. We came together, willingly, looking forward to working together making this year's mochi. How do we pass this on to our kids and now to our grandkids? How does it keep getting passed from generation to generation? We watched, we learned, We modeled our elders. We passed it to the younger ones. And it got passed on from our grandparents from Japan to our parents, to me, to my kids, and now to my grandkids. And it is still continuing after 5 generations in America. And the mochi we made with all the family gathered together is eaten at our first meal of the new year. Tradition, culture, how does it get passed on?
Okay.
Yeah. And after you hit it, you gotta take a step back. Do you see? We hit it, and then we kind of back up.
Yeah,
hit it.
You don't want
back
someone
up.
to hit your
hit
head.
It. Back up. Okay.
Wow. No.
It's okay.
You don't want to do it? You gotta make it try.
I'll do it.
In a woodworking class, my son used a tree trunk from his backyard to make an usu, the bowl that holds the rice, and a few kine from tree branches used for pounding the rice. So just before New Year's Day, the wind was howling and sheets of rain pelted our house, so our family set up to make mochi in the covered garage. The grandkids were breathless little eager beavers, wide-eyed, giggling with excitement, each squealing for their turn, vying to see who would go first. We were flooded with fond memories from my husband and my childhood's mochi-making days, which has helped us carry on the mochi tradition. All generations involved together in one effort, more than just making mochi. We were working together as one family unit. Beyond mochi, it is the sticking together that counts.
Whoa! You guys are great!
Wow!
Holy smoly!
Wow! Careful! Wow!
Oh my goodness! My goodness! Okay,
Wow! Okay, slow down.
After the mochi was all pounded, the grandkids came into the kitchen and rolled out all the mochi balls. And every family got to take some home. Despite the much-needed rain, it was a great day for making mochi and making family memories together. But at the end, there was one piece of mochi left. So there is another strong tradition that we uphold. Somehow we all learn not to eat the last piece of food from a plate served to the entire table of guests. No one ever said a word about not taking that last piece of food. Did we catch it? By watching? Observing? Over the years growing up in a Japanese-American home as we ate, it was an unspoken tradition we all observed. No one ever explained it in so many words. No one ever took or ate that last bite of food on the serving plate. Any plate of food always had one bite left on it. You are thinking about who comes after you and leaving something for them. I hope we are all leaving something for who comes after us. The pure white rice cakes that we make year after year, mochi, and that is one of the things that sticks us together as a family.
Mochi, one more time. Look up here.
So what do we need to make?
We definitely need rice.
I think you put in the bones first, or...
I don't remember. I think Granddad...
Let's just call Grandma and Granddad and ask them.
Sure, I teach you guys how to make JOOK. You know, the main ingredient of JOOK, of course, is the rice.
Ava, you got the rice.
Boil the rice
I got the
in
rice.
water. You kind of boil it in water until the rice gets very soft and mushy. And then you can then add on additional ingredients, whatever you would like to use. Chicken bone or beef bones, any kind that makes a
Let's
really,
add black eyed
really
peas.
nice broth.
What else should we put in?
Let's add green onion.
Let's add the green onion.
It's easy to make once you learn how to make it.
How did you learn how to make it?
I was first taught by my mother. When I was in China, it was just my mother and me. Actually, sometimes we would put fresh vegetables in. Growing up in China, you know, we didn't really have that much to eat and everything. When I came to the U.S., everything, all the food was just different. I had to kind of get used to it. My fifth uncle had a restaurant in Flagstaff called the Grand Canyon Cafe. It started out as a small restaurant, and it was more of a family restaurant. I started working there as soon as I came to the United States. You know, we washed dishes and we worked behind the stove, learning how to cook. We worked all through high school. When we were growing up, we raised chickens. One of my responsibilities was have to go out and feed the chicken.
Oh my gosh. You ate those chickens?
Oh yeah. And they were good. They were, you know, nice and fresh. When my brothers and sister were growing up, they were just tiny little kids, and I had to help my mother take care of them. Well, it was just a way of using the leftover bones to make the broth that was very tasty.
Our family normally has JOOK every time we have a turkey because we use the bones and make this very nice soup.
Of course, then I, you know, I taught your mother and your uncle. Days after Thanksgiving, we would make JOOK. Became a kind of a family tradition. Children like it because it's nice and soft. It's almost like
JOOK
soup,
is
and so
baby's
children like
first
it
food.
a lot.
It's the first food I ate as a baby.
Ava, it was your favorite.
You were really cute.
We even had it for your first birthday.
She would have waved your hands up in the air. You were so excited to eat JOOK.
And it was the only food I could eat when I got my wisdom teeth out.
Yeah, you looked really funny with the ice pack around your head.
I like it with a lot of soy sauce. So like,
I think it's
Yeah,
too
we
much.
know. You always add too much sauce.
I don't. I really don't.
it's literally a normal amount.
Ew, oh my god, this is inedible.
That's too much.
No,
it's literally not.
Oh no, did you just ruin it?
Thank God we
It's
made
okay.
extra.
We have lots of
We
extra
have
JOOK,
plenty. Don't
but
worry.
you'll have to come over and pick it up.
Thank God, because
when
Ava
does ours
went
lunch
off.
end?
Yes, we're on our way over. Thanks, Grandma. Thanks, Granddad.
We'll be over shortly.
Every year since I can remember, my grandpa made us JOOK after Thanksgiving. Like he said, it's a family tradition. He taught my mom to make it, my uncle. He taught my dad, who isn't even Chinese. The calm after the big holiday, the mend after your body has been through sickness or surgery. It's always been a given that our family makes JOOK for each other, in both good times and bad. It wasn't until we couldn't see each other for a year that we realized how much we took this for granted, and realized maybe we aren't quite ready to make JOOK all on our own just yet. But even when circumstance dictates physical distance, JOOK once again finds a way to bring us together.
At this time, can I call all the filmmakers up to stage? Can we get one more round of applause? Yeah, let's celebrate. One more, yeah. Also, shout out to the fact that we have an all-women filmmaker panel. That's amazing. All right. Well, just to warm up, can you all please introduce yourselves and just quickly let the audience know who you are and which film is yours?
Sorry, that last film made me emotional. My name is Iliana Garcia, and I am the filmmaker of the last film, A Guide for When Immigrants Become Ancestors.
I'm Teresa Matsushima, and I did Mochi Sticks Us Together.
I am Patty Fong, and I made More Than a Roast Chicken.
And I'm Olivia Stark, and I made JOOK.
Just another warm question that I just thought of. How are you all feeling after having watched your films on the big screen?
I haven't seen my film in a long time, but maybe just seeing my grandma at the end there made me a little bit emotional. But seeing it in context of everyone else's films, it makes me happy to see a lot of food out there.
Seeing my grandkids, they're 2 years older now, so they're bigger. But it was a joy.
It always takes my breath away to see my films during screenings because I'm accustomed to seeing them on my computer monitor.
Right.
Iliana's film also made me emotional. I feel like it has a new resonance in today's political climate. And seeing my film again for the first time in a while was also emotional, partially because my grandparents actually lost their home in the fires recently. So it was kind of special seeing it, seeing our artist's rendition of it on screen.
I'll have to agree. I was tearing up by the end of the whole screening with such heartfelt storytelling from you all. And I'm sure the audience can probably relate. And also, if anyone has any questions for them, please keep them in mind, because after our Q&A, we'll be opening up the Q&A to audience questions, so if you have any. All right. So our first question, in what ways has this film, during its creation and or its completion, I know it's been a couple years, but if you can remember, made an impact on you or your audiences? And this can be technical process-based, artist-based, maybe you experience some personal growth, or have some stories from different screenings, from different screenings of your guys' films to different audiences. If anyone would like to start, just please feel free.
When I saw my son, making the bowl for the mochi and the kine, the sticks, and he ran this summer kids program called Kizuna for many years, and he learned how to do the mochi way better than my husband and I. And I realized I was kind of a control freak mother, so I was glad to see that he could actually make mochi better than we could. So I was thankful for that.
I think for me, this was actually the first film that I ever made, and I haven't made another film on my own since then. But Iliana probably remembers throughout our whole program, I would always say, I'm not a filmmaker, I'm not a filmmaker. And my mentor, Mickey Davis, would be like, stop saying that, you are a filmmaker. So I think just the process of making this film really broadened for me the definition of filmmaker. And even though I haven't kind of created and directed my own film since this, I would still now proudly call myself a filmmaker because I'm involved in making films in a way that's significant. And I think filmmaking is so collaborative. And so I really learned that through this process, and would say anyone who touches a film at all deserves to call themselves a filmmaker.
You all four are filmmakers in your own right, even being here. But also wanted to, because we do have some people who did come in after our introduction. Can people explain what the AWC Film Fellowship process is like, and DH, in your guys' own words, to people who might not know?
Well, Digital Histories is a program for retired Asian Americans who we're all novice and we just have a story to tell. So they kind of help us to do the technical part, and we just have a script and then we write our stories. And then here and there's film festivals, but it's for Asian Americans who are retired.
And I guess, yeah, Armed with a Camera is like you have a cohort of people, and we make 5-minute films. It's all through VC, so the nonprofit, and it screens at LA Asian at the end of the year. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Olivia.
Yeah, and it's for young, emerging filmmakers.
Filmmakers.
Like the opposite spectrum.
We call you guys the future digital histories filmmakers.
I'll claim that. Really.
As far as learning, I proved to myself that with no budget, filmmaking is accessible. My film consisted of a piece from a Handycam and iPhones. And then in the process, I learned to be more appreciative. Going through my mom's stories in my head, some that didn't make the screen, I remembered she said that 4 of her sisters, 4 of my aunties had to leave Missouri in order to get married because interracial marriages weren't allowed in the state of Missouri. And I remember Mom said there were 11 people living in 3 bedrooms. In my home, that we have 5 people when we were at max, we have more than 1 bathroom. They had 11 people, 3 bedrooms, and an outhouse. And I don't know how that works in the wintertime. So just in one generation, it just amazes me how different our lives are. And then in some ways, our lives are the same.
I think for me, impact, hug your grandmas, hug your grandpas. That's what I feel like I felt making my film. And then I think on a filmmaker level, just like, I think it brought me closer to my voice. Like I like to write, so just doing voiceover and being able to do that. It wasn't my first film, but it was kind of close to that. But like Olivia was saying, being able to do that through VC, yeah, I felt more like a filmmaker afterwards. Yeah.
And just a touch on Iliana and Patty's points, every one of you also has a voice, and every one of you probably also has a smartphone. So take this as inspiration to document your own family histories. And our next question. So, as we've seen, all 4 films center yourselves and your family's stories in its narratives. What do you guys think is the importance of storytelling and documentation of family histories, and especially as NHPI filmmakers?
I think when you, all of us told some sort of story about their family, and it does help you document your family history, and it creates more memory, and it keeps your family together. So when you're telling your story, you know, you're together with your siblings and your kids and your grandkids, but it's a really nice way to keep your family intact. And nowadays, there's so much, you know, disruption in families that it's one way to keep us together.
I find that the importance as in these times, it's really important to tell our stories, because I read somewhere if we don't tell our stories, we give the power to others, and others can sanitize it, curate it, add alternative facts to make it more convenient to fit somebody else's narrative. So in my body of work, I'm telling my family story, but I'm finding that I need to explain history. Not so much in this particular piece, but like how immigrants have been treated and how that affects my family story.
I think kind of building on that, but also individually, I think for me, like, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. Just like, I think it's like, once it's gone, it's gone. It's like so ephemeral. While I was making this film, my great-grandma passed away, and she's Puerto Rican, and that's a story I won't go into, but recently, we came up on her birthday, and I got pasteles, which is like kind of a Puerto Rican dish, and I realized that I will never be able to eat pasteles that she's made before, because that recipe didn't get passed down, or she didn't really tell a story of how it was made. And so I don't know, being able to tell my story of grief, and also just being able to hear my grandparents tell their stories about their fathers and where they come from, I now have that information to pass down, and if I didn't have that, it would just be gone forever. So just like the mortality of information is like, it feels so close sometimes. And now that we have like kind of really cool abilities to document people, I don't know, it just feels important to not only, like you said, be connected to your family, but also be connected to yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And really right before this program, we were all backstage and we were having our own conversation about how often the first thing lost in a culture is language. And after that, really all you have is food, and then that's the second thing to go. And, you know, it speaks that a lot of our films center food. And in my experience, food has been kind of like, you know, in Asian American families, sometimes your elders are not the most forthcoming with information about their history, the family history, and it's something that kind of needs to be drawn out. And that was kind of my intention with JOOK, was to kind of show how food is a great vehicle to draw out those stories. And so is filmmaking. So I think there are parts of my grandpa's history that I would have never learned if, one, we hadn't had this vehicle of food through which it was kind of an easier thing to share, but also this film that was, you know, a reason to document it and a reason for him to share this with me so that I could share it with the world.
For maybe folks in the audience who maybe don't have the formality of being in an artist program and having to make a film, I don't know, how can people start that conversation with their families if they're curious? Like what's the first question that they may ask to them? I just thought of this because I remember when I first met Patty, she was talking to me about this great book, which I think you said was also available at LAPL,
It's available at LA Public Library.
Yeah.
Author is Elizabeth Keating. The title is Essential Questions. I heard about it from my son. And instead of concentrating on the chart, which the author calls name, date, serial number kind of information, which, you know, those are the kinds of things we get from National Archives and documents from the courthouse, all important, but get to the heart. And some of the questions she posed were like, Mom, what did you see while you walked to school? What did you smell coming out of Mommy's kitchen? What was your first, what did it feel like on your first date? And you ask questions like that, and you just sit in 7 seconds. You have to be quiet at least 7 seconds. And it's just amazing. And nowadays, you just turn your phone on and just leave it on the table.
Oh.
and so, I mean, if you set up the video setup, the 3-point lighting and all that stuff, people get intimidated, possibly. But let's just put the phone on the table and just, I know for me personally, I know there's a place I can go and hear my dad's voice. And, when you hear your grandma's voice, I'm sure there's a certain string that gets pulled.
Yeah.
So I think the phone and this technology that these kids have, so cool.
I think also to build off that, I actually did oral history of my grandma, and it's way less formal than this. And I have an 8-minute video of her that I then showed to my family after her passing. And honestly, I feel like a lot of people don't mind being filmed. And it kind of could just start with, can I film you? And then they go, why do you want to film me? And then all of a sudden you're 2 hours into just coffee, and they're telling you about their life and wherever they come from. And it's kind of you kind of just have to poke at them, obviously if they want to, but it just, time and a phone and their consent, obviously. Yeah.
I always tell people, my memory's terrible, so I just have to have the song so I remember everything we talk about.
Well, people like to talk about what they're mad at, I feel like. So if you could just...
Well, watching each other's films, as we've mentioned before in this conversation, I'm sure all of you have noticed similarities in ways you've kept culture and tradition alive as second, third, fourth A and HPI individuals, whether through food, as was mentioned in scenes, stories from elders. Although growing up during different time periods, I'm sure there are differences as well. So this next question is to the DH filmmakers. I'm curious to know what you think of the current generation of young Asian Americans. What difference do you notice in cultural awareness, relationships to heritage, maybe activism, et cetera, compared to when you were growing up? Is there anything you admire or maybe even question for this current generation?
They have a lot more technical ability. I have an iPhone, and they have, a lot more technical skill. But yeah, I think the people in my class, they lack a lot of the ability to make a film, but they have a story. So the younger people have the ability to tell the story, or to put it on more than an iPhone, and yeah. So.
Well, I heard somebody say, in order to tell a story, you have to have lived life. But I think if the young people are insightful and curious, there are stories that can be uncovered. Life moves really fast, and there are a lot of distractions. My hope is that people slow down and ask questions, sit down with an auntie and uncle and listen. And we can build bridges going back, and then we can pass stories going forward. I think we all can be a better society for that, learning and understanding each other.
AWC filmmakers, have you experienced that kind of slowing down as you've pursued filmmaking, or like in your art or work?
Yeah, I think definitely curiosity is a really important gift to have as a filmmaker. In our AWC cohort, I remember when we all pitched each other our initial ideas, and I think Iliana's, yours was pretty close to what you initially pitched to the group, but most of the films evolved quite a bit over the course of the program, because as the filmmakers started digging into their central questions they were poking at and themes around their film, they would kind of explore new things and then find something else that they wanted to say. So I think that's really the beauty of curiosity in any type of art form.
Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, just responding to Patty's hope for current generations, such as yourself. Any words to say on curiosity, taking things slow, as a person, honestly, or also in your art?
Right, and slowing down. I struggle with that. I think listening to your elders, I know that sounds like cliche, and I know there's, yeah, I mean, I think that like what you were saying about like you have to live a life to tell a story, I think, and also what you were saying about technical skills with the younger generation, I think that collaboration of elders and the younger folks is like potential that hasn't been tapped into yet. And I think that when you have both those stories and skill set together, like I think that allows for a slowing down of like being able to capture and listen to what you haven't lived yet. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that does. And kind of following into my next question for the AWC filmmakers, as you build on the work of older generations of Asian Americans, again, also recognizing your film's place in the legacy of VC as a pioneer of an HPR representation in media, What wisdom from your elders or predecessors do you take with you as you keep your traditions and culture alive, either as a person or in your art?
Do you want to go?
You go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead.
I think just to keep telling our stories and really like think about and be intentional about what we want to pass down to the next generation. I think that's what really struck me about Patty and Teresa's films, and Teresa and the way your film ended in particular about the last piece of Mochi that nobody touches, and just using that as a metaphor for like what do we leave for the next person. Just that thoughtfulness of making sure that what we're putting out into the world, that there's something there to be shared for those who come after us. I think that's a lesson I learned in your films and just from my elders in general in life.
I think also to balance that out, I think with filmmakers, it can always be like, gotta get the story. I feel like I have like my elder filmmaker wisdom that I've gotten from elders, and then like my family elder wisdom, and like they're kind of in contradiction to each other. Where like with elder, I don't want to say elder, but like older filmmakers, there's this wisdom of like, you gotta get the story, you gotta get the story. And then with my family, it's like, not everything has to be a story. Like we could eat dinner and not like, make it a thing. And so I think I would think more about that distinction. Like I think that's something I'd like the next generation, or like I take with me, is just like knowing when to be present and knowing when I want to document something. And like if I want to document something, I want to have enough feeling in my body to like come back to it in the present and not like just know it as in like a story space. Like I want to know it for myself first. Yeah.
And this is a question for all of you guys. What do you hope for the future generation? Maybe some of the young kids. I see a couple kids in the audience right now. What would you say for them, or what do you hope for them?
I would hope that, like, as an older adult, there were a lot of things I should have asked my grandparents or my parents. And so if you're younger, you have the opportunity, more time to ask those questions about things that they've lived through and not leave it unsaid.
Yeah, I have a lot of regrets. Questions not asked, not being curious, being too busy in my life. So, yeah, be curious. Take some time at a dinner table, then with somebody, share stories, document them.
Get the recipes. I think that's really important. And like, just like if someone's offering you food, like take it. Language too, I think. Like I've never had that experience of having having been able to be brought up knowing Spanish well, and I know that there are a lot of maybe second generation communities where they're like pushing back against learning Spanish or Tagalog. If you could learn the language, that'd be great. But also. There's a third space where I think identity exists, where like, I don't know, after making my film, I felt like I became more confident in myself in terms of who I was, and less feeling like I was a deficit to expectations of identity. And so, I don't know, I think if you're insecure about that, I'd probably be less insecure, because I don't think people really care.
You guys stole my answer. I was also going to say, be curious, ask questions. But I guess I would say, to add on top of that also, if you ever want to tell a story, like you've been asking questions, you want to make a film about it, you want to do something with it, don't let the perceived barriers get in the way. Like you guys were saying, everyone has an iPhone, some kind of smartphone, any sort of filming device. You could just like record a conversation. I think I didn't make a film for a really long time because I felt like, oh, I don't have the skills or the resources to do that. But there's so many ways that you can make that accessible for yourself, and you won't regret doing it.
All right, hope all the youngsters have been taking notes and have some questions they'd like to ask their elders now. But anyways, it's now time, that part of the event, where we're gonna shoot it off to all you guys. I think there should be some librarians or library workers with mics if anyone has questions they would like to ask our filmmakers.
Yeah, just hold your hand up and we'll bring you a microphone.
We've got one person down there.
Got it.
Hello. I was moved by all of your movies. Thank you for making them. This question is about JOOK, so this is for Olivia. I resonated with it because my mom makes JOOK out of Thanksgiving leftovers, and I didn't know it was a tradition with like another family, so. Yeah, having said that, and watching the animation, it just makes me want to eat JOOK. Like, it's like watching a Miyazaki movie in which they show food. But yeah, having said that, I'm curious, what ingredients do you like to put in your JOOK? Because, for example, a friend of mine says she likes to put sweet Maui onion potato chips in her JOOK. And it's really good, I tried it. So I'm curious about what you like to put in yours.
Wow, I haven't heard the sweet Maui onion potato chips thing. I'll have to try that. And thank you, because that was my exact intention with the film, was to make people want to eat JOOK and share it with their family. Personally, I like it pretty plain. I just put fresh green onions on top and a little shoyu. But my grandpa puts black-eyed peas in his, which is why we had that little detail in the film. I don't know if anyone caught that. And I always thought that was kind of an interesting ingredient to add.
All right, anybody else? Yeah, one over here.
Thank you. All your films are great, by the way. It brought back a lot of fond memories, family memories. This question goes out to Patty Fong. Patty, when will you be making that delicious-looking roast chicken? Because I'm sick and tired of eating Costco chicken. I'll be right over when you're making that.
Dinner at 6.
All right, I'll be there. It was great, by the way, all of you.
Actually, the first time I screened that in class, Teresa, you remember? Fran's like, well, where's the recipe? Where's the recipe? And there's no recipe. It actually turns out different every time I cook it, depending on what I grab. So you notice at the end, it's just like, there's no measurements. It's just stuff, and that's how I learned to cook. It's terrible. If my kids or anybody wanted to learn to cook for me, I couldn't really, they just have to watch. I don't know if that's just the way my family cooks or if that's Asian cooking in general. And yeah, we eat turkey JOOK. That's my number 2 kid, so that's the favorite, right, Amber? The favorite part of Thanksgiving is JOOK the next day. Yeah.
All right, if we don't have any more questions, we can close out. So what are you guys up to now? And is there anything you're looking forward to? And feel free to plug your socials if you have any, or websites or work.
So I will leave it off to Olivia.
Thank you. Like I said, I haven't made a film, my own film, since doing this program, but now I do work in the film industry. I work at an animation studio called Skydance Animation on animated features, and I work in creative development, so I kind of am responsible for helping shepherd filmmakers in early development to draw out from them what kind of story they want to tell. So I do feel like this experience prepared me very well for my current role.
In Digital Histories, we're in the process of getting ready for Film Fest 26. We're going to screen, and I have yet to open up my timeline on my editor, but 2 stories that were percolating to the top. One was telling the story of sex trafficking in early 1900s San Francisco, and the women that were saved by Donaldina Cameron. and told through the story of a woman I've met on paper, which is fascinating. I didn't know the story, so I assumed other people didn't know the story. And then the second one, which I think is going to be the one that goes into the can, what happens when Midwest cuisine collides with Chinese cuisine. And it's St. Louis does some wild things with egg foo young. So that's all. That's what probably for Film Fest 26.
And the Film Fest Patty's talking about is the LA Asian Pacific Film Festival. More information about that on VC's website.
I am working on a film called Ji-chan's Hands, which means Grandpa's Hands. And my grandpa burned his hand in a fire, and so his hands were deformed kind of like this, which is I love you in sign language. And showing from his life until my daughter, when she was born, sucked her fingers like this. And so it's the 4-5 generations of I love you. Anyway, so that's my next story. And my husband, who's sitting there in the audience, is interested in making his Mochi film. But he told me I am not to say anything to him, and it's on his own. So that's what's going on in the future.
So I edited a recent documentary on PBS, PBS's Artbound series called Nobuko Miyamoto, Song and Movement. So that's out, came out semi-recently. And currently I am editing, taking part in some of the editing for a multimedia textbook called Foundations and Futures, which is coming out of the UCLA Asian American Studies Department. So stay tuned for that.
And Foundations and Futures is going to be releasing later this month, right?
Later this month.
So yeah, more information about that on the UCLA Asian American Studies Center website. Well, anyways, can we get one more round of applause for all of our amazing filmmakers and the work that they have done? All right, I think we'll turn it over to Kevin.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks, everybody. One more big hand. Come on. Yeah, it's really cool. So thank you so much for attending today's LA Made program. The success of LA Made and literally all of our library programs cannot happen without the support of you, our patrons. So thanks so much for coming out, and have a great rest of your day.